Pacers have the tale of two games this weekend as they crush the Nets at home against an opponent they have a good matchup with and then get destroyed by the Clippers on the road against a team they have a terrible matchup with. We'll talk about what changed for the Pacers between the two games, how they can do better against a team like the Clippers going forward, plus talking stuff that was good and not good from the weekend, and Pacers-Lakers tonight. So much to get to on today's Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in to another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers as always. My name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes and SI, and today, lots to get to. Pacers battling all the star teams, Brooklyn, LA, and then to LA again tonight, but the other one. So much to talk about is the Pacers last Friday. Look awesome against the Nets. Huge fourth quarter, one of their best of the season. They take down Kevin Durant. Buddy Hield has his best game of the year. And then they go on Sunday and put up a total dud against the Clippers, maybe their worst third quarter of the season. They get destroyed. Ivica Zubac looks like Will Chamberlain. What happened between those two games? What went well in one and wrong in the other? We'll get to the meat of all that. Plus, talking about stuff I did and did not like from the weekend. I got 5 things. And then at the end, we'll talk Pacers-Lakers tonight. Fun one as Benedict Mathurin finally gets to go against LeBron James after calling out preseason to see that he really wants to play against him, albeit somewhat facetiously. Looking forward to getting into all that. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code LOCKEDON. That's PrizePicks.com, promo code LOCKEDON. Let's dive right into everything Pacers today on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for making us your first listen every single day. Pacers weekend that was. Fascinating weekend that was. They completely destroy the Nets, right? 40-point fourth quarter. They looked awesome. And then the complete opposite game happened Sunday as the Clippers completely destroyed them, right? And to me, the biggest difference is the stars of the team in both of these games, right? Look at the Nets game, right? The stars of the Pacers. Their 4 best players this year, especially offensively, all had 20-plus point games and looked fantastic, right? Benedict Mathurin had exactly 20. He was getting to the foul line. He hit some shots. He was huge off the bench for the Pacers, who did some damage against the Nets bench in this game. All the Nets bench players had a negative plus-minus. Tyrese Haliburton had 21 and 15, another ridiculous performance from him, as he has done so many times. Miles Turner was 9 for 11 for 23 points and 8 rebounds, and Buddy Hield had the number one, to me, best game of his season. Top of the list, 26 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, and, oh, by the way, defended Kevin Durant all night, who threw 3 quarters had 13 points. And then he had all of the Nets points except for 3 of them in the fourth quarter. But in general, Buddy Hield defended him very well. Like, best game of the season for Buddy Hield. And so had he had another good game against the Clippers, I probably would have done a little more spotlight on him in his weekend because he was so good. But either way, against the Nets when the Pacers won, all 4 of their stars looked fantastic. It was probably their best combined game from all 4 of those guys of the season, or one of them. And so they have momentum. They're going to LA. They're playing the Clippers. No PG, no Kawhi. They're favored and dud. Total dud, right? All 4 of those guys against the Clippers looked awful, looked completely awful. Buddy Hield 3 for 14 for 10 points in this game. 3 turnovers, 3 assists, right? He was minus 17. Miles Turner was 3 for 9, 9 points, 5 rebounds, only made 1 3. Got completely punked by Zubac several times. Zubac, let me repeat this, by the way. 31 points, 29 rebounds. Neither of those aren't misspoken numbers. He had 12 offensive boards by himself. That's more than the Pacers had as a team. It wasn't just Turner. Turner was oftentimes defending ball handlers as well, but Turner did not rebound well in this game. No defense at all there. Tyrese Haliburton, 15 points, 11 assists. That sounds like a good game. He had more shot attempts than points, did not get to the foul line. Speaking of not getting to the foul line, Benedict Mathurin's second time of his career below 10 points, as he had 9 points in this game, right? So from game to game, the biggest huge thing Pacers control perspective beyond the other team is their stars were awesome against the Nets, and we're great in the fourth quarter. We're picking apart the Nets defense, looked really connected. After the game, Rick Carlisle says this team's superpower is our connectivity, right? They play really connected. They go to LA, and they're not connected at all. They looked really awful against the Clippers. Their second lowest assist total in a game this season. They had just 23 in that outing against the Clippers, right? They just didn't look like themselves. They scored 100. They lose by 14, but it looked much worse than that. They scored, I think, on their last 4 possessions to get to the triple digits mark. Otherwise, they still would have had their worst game offensively in that Houston game. Clippers were dominant. in the second half. So what went into this? Why were the Pacers able to have, such a fantastic game against the Nets and then go against the Clippers? And we'll talk about the other players too. But, Haliburton has 11 assists, but really nobody else could do much. Jalen Smith was fantastic. He'll get a lot of airtime in the second segment today against the Clippers. Everybody else really struggled to do the things that make them so good. So first of all, I would like to credit the Clippers defense as I knock my mic off the stand. I hope that didn't sound horrible through the audio for you all, but the Clippers were all over the Pacers shooters. Their X-outs are really good. They do a good job of staying kind of between two guys when they're helping on the weaker, strong side so they can recover to whoever the pass happens to go to, right? That's hard to do. And they do a very good job of that stuff, which makes it easier for them to defend the three-point line. They did very well at that in this game. Pacers shoot 9 of 42 from deep. Brutally bad game at 21.4% from long range. That will never work. You will very rarely win shooting that poorly. And so basically everything the Pacers wanted to do when their shot is off, you can kind of plug it up and slow it down, right? Pacers average over 46 points in the paint per game this season. Over 56 points in the paint. They were at 48 in this game, right? They try to get points off of turnovers. They're over 18 per game in that category. Finished with just 13 in this game, right? All these things that they're normally quite good at, they really struggled with in this game. They normally only concede like 40-something points in the paint. They gave up 66. Like, you could go on and on about the stuff the Clippers did well, but defensively, they stopped the Pacers from scoring in the paint, where the Pacers like to score, and from scoring off of turnovers, what they like to do on the fast break, right? So the Pacers offense was not playing the way they normally wanted to play. Credit to the Clippers for taking them out of that game. Now, what are the Nets good at on defense? Not that kind of stuff, right? Like that, they're the opposite sort of team, and that's where the Clippers are really good and the Nets are really bad team defense concepts, right? This sort of stuff really played in all weekend for the Pacers, right? The crummy Nets defense versus the very stout Clipper defense. Right now in the NBA, the defensive rating leaderboard, second in the NBA, the Los Angeles Clippers, 107.6. Sure, their stars didn't play. Ty Lue is still a defensive genius on that end of the floor. The Brooklyn Nets are 20th in defensive rating, right? So they went from playing a bottom 10 team to a top 2 team on defense. And it showed, right? They did very well scoring against the Nets. They could not score at all against the Clippers. Something else that happened in these games, right? Against the Nets, Pacers rebounded pretty well. They finished with 41 in that game. The Nets finished with just 38. They tied on offensive rebounds, right? Not great, but good enough. They won the rebounding battle. They got destroyed on the glass against the Clippers. One guy destroyed them. You look at rebounding rate in the NBA right now. The Clippers near the top of the league, right? Doing a fantastic job on the glass this season in the top half. 1% more for the Clippers, and they'd be 6th in the league. The Nets rebounding rate is dead last, right? One of just a handful of teams well below 48%, them, the Thunder, and the Mavs in that area. So the tale of two teams beyond the stars doing poorly for the Pacers is the way the teams that they play, where one is terrible at defensive rebounding and tries to outscore you, and the other one dominates the possession game and tries to defend you, one suits the Pacers much better. And that's a big part of why the Pacers were able to run over the Nets and not do anything at all they wanted against the Clippers, even with the Clippers stars out. Their game plan was all over. So I don't want to say any sort of excuse for the Pacers, right? Not what I'm trying to do. I wrote before the game that this Clippers game kind of felt like a trap game. One of those early road trip games. They feel like they've got momentum coming off of their homestand. It's in the middle of the day at 1 o'clock. They got a really huge star-studded opponent the very next day. A lot of stuff that felt like a trap game. This isn't a post after the game thought for me. I wrote it before the game because I thought that made a lot of sense. And they kind of looked like it, right? They were up 8 in the first quarter at one point. And then they just kind of coasted. They felt like they had it. They never played well to me after that point. I think it was 27-19 was the score at that point. They just lost all urgency that they had for basically the last 3.5 quarters against the Nets. They really lost it, and they super struggled for that. And to see this team with urgency and without it is so obvious, and that trap game just really jumped all over them. And also the other factor here is, and this is sort of the case for the Clippers as well, because their upcoming schedule is a bunch of road games. But, the Pacers, I asked Rick Carlisle about this after the Nets game, but was there some feeling of you really want to win that final game before you go out on the road? Yeah, that has to feel like something for them, right? So the Clippers, same deal, right? They play the Blazers on the road, the Jazz on the road, the Hornets, the Heat, the Magic, the Wizards, all on the road before December 10th. They also would like to get that home win before jumping out on the road. The urgency was there. The Pacers looked horrible, not to excuse their play. They should have played better. But on a game that's a bad matchup, trap game potential all over it, they were a total dud team. It was their worst third quarter of the season. They had 12 points in the third quarter. They could not get anything going in that frame, except for Jalen Smith, who, again, we will talk about quite often in the upcoming segment, but nobody could do their job. Only two guys shot over 40% for the Pacers in this game. Clippers defense was really good, but there wasn't an answer the Pacers could go to. They couldn't hit the threes. They couldn't score off of in transition enough. They couldn't score in the paint enough to overcome the demons that the Clippers had for them, and it cost them. That's an unacceptably bad third quarter from the Pacers if they wanted to get off to a strong start to this road trip. 0 for 12 from deep in that quarter, 4 for 22 from the field. So they just looked miserable to me. And look, Zubac was amazing, and I'd like to give him a lot of credit for a 31-29 game. I saw some, and by some I mean quite a few comments about how rebounding totally killed the Pacers, and it did. I don't want to say that getting out rebounded by 23 is good or anything. It's obviously terrible. If that's closer to even, the Pacers shoot the ball 10 to 12 more times in this game, but the Pacers and Clippers shot the same number of times. They each had 94 shots in this game because the Clippers had nearly double the turnovers. They had 7 more turnovers, right? And the team turnover battle was close, and the free throw battle, the Clippers had 9 more. But in general, the shot attempts were exactly the same, 94-94, right? So if the Pacers just played their offense a little better and could actually break down the Clipper defense, 1, there would have been less rebounding opportunities for Zubac, and 2, they would have scored more points in a way that would have made this game closer. So yes, obviously, if they got more rebounds, they would have been closer in this game. But I didn't think that was as big of a story as people were making it out to be. To me, the Pacers just could not get the looks that they wanted. And when they did, they couldn't even knock them down, right? Over 12 in the third. And a lot of those looks were pretty good. Flow of the offense kind of stuff that the Pacers have been making so often on this run. So lethargic, disconnected performance from the Pacers on Sunday, which is unfortunate for them because they were following up one of their better wins of the season against Brooklyn in terms of connectivity and team play on Friday. Let's talk about some good and bad stuff from this weekend. I don't know. This is sort of like a Zach Lowe things I liked and didn't like sort of deal. I just wrote down 5 general thoughts from the weekend. Jalen Smith, fantastic. Buddy Hield's best game of the season, and some stinkers from some other guys. We'll cover all that and more in the next segment today. This episode is brought to you by Turo. Turo is the world's largest car-sharing marketplace. With Turo, you can book any car you want, wherever you want it, from a community of local hosts. Browse a huge selection of vehicles for just about any occasion or budget across the U.S., UK, Canada, and Australia. Book a spacious SUV or minivan for a family road trip. Get a classic or luxury car for a special event, a birthday, or a holiday. Find affordable economy cars if you're on a budget and just need to get from A to B. All these options and more. Test drive that new electric vehicle you've had your eye on. See how it fits your everyday life. There's so much you can do with Turo. Go check it out. Many Turo hosts can even deliver the car right to you. Every trip is backed by liability insurance. Terms and conditions and exclusions apply. Forget boring rental cars. Find your drive at Turo.com. Thank you, as always, for making Locked On Pacers your first listen today and every single day. For your second listen, check out Locked On Clippers. Hear what they got to say about Ivica Zubac's huge game, this Clippers team, where they're heading with their road trip coming up. Let's talk about some stuff from this weekend about the Pacers that stood out, because some guys had huge games, some guys had some real duds, and it means a lot for the Pacers to see these games because, like I've talked about, some of these role players have been a little inconsistent. So seeing where they shine and don't is pretty noteworthy, and we'll talk about quite a few of them in this segment. But I would like to lead with a best game of the season. There's going to be 2 of them in this segment. First up is Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield was awesome against the Brooklyn Nets. Maybe his best game in a Pacers uniform completely. I've never seen him play like that on both ends. And it wasn't just the points. He had 26 points. That's a season high. Of course, that's going to stand out. He had 26 points on 15 shots with only 3 free throw attempts. That's, of course, going to stand out. Hitting 5 threes makes anyone look good. No one on the Nets even hit 5 threes. But it was the defense, too. He made Kevin Durant's life very hard through 3 quarters, right? In the first half, Kevin Durant was terrible, right? Not terrible, but, less impactful for the normal Kevin Durant standard you would have. He had 11 points on 10 shots, right? Like, that's not that impressive. In the third quarter, he was still not very good. Like, up in press row, you feel like every shot he's going to take is going to go in, and it wasn't, right? In the third quarter, he was 2 for 11, right? Like, he was not having a good game until the fourth quarter, and Buddy Hield played a big part of that, and he scored a season high with 26 points, right? And something that stood out about the way he was shooting this game and this weekend in general is he was going for a lot of these one dribble shots, like after a fake on a blow by or something like that. Not as much attacking the rim, which isn't necessarily good or bad. Like, he did take 7 2-pointers against the Nets and 5 against the Clippers, and 7's a lot for him in one game. But these one dribble moves, I feel like he's still more settled and on balance, and ready to whip it over a defender. And those seem like really in rhythm shots for him. So that's something I think he should continue to pursue and try to get within the flow of the offense, because I feel like he's really threatening, especially going to a one dribble to his left kind of move. That's something he's still on balance. He's still, and it lets him be an off and on ball threat. Like, you catch your dribble once, it's still sort of that shot's created by what you did off ball, right? I thought it was really impressive the way he was getting those shots against the Nets. And of course, 3 steals, like everything he did was great. He was so, as Rick Carlisle likes to say, spirited. Really enjoyable performance from him. Number 2 thing from this weekend, not so good this time. Aaron Nesmith. Oh man, is he in a funk? And it's weird because his shot looks really flat. Like, there's not enough arc on it, or like if he's not settled enough at all and he tries to get it up quick, or he doesn't have quite enough space and he just tries to sling it, it doesn't look right. Whereas when he's really in rhythm, his shot looks a little different. It's got more arch. It feels just like better, and it goes in, right? It's very impressive to see him do that sort of thing. And so I wanted to dig up the numbers, right? This weekend, first of all, against the Nets, Nesmith 3 for 7. That's okay, right? 10 points on 7 shots is a fine performance. And then against the Clippers, he was 1 for 7, 14.3%. Looking back at since his return from injury, Aaron Nesmith is shooting 31.3%, and that's prior to going 1 for 7 against the Clippers. He's shooting better from 3 than 2, right? 33% from deep. His 2-point shot has been completely miserable. They don't have 2-point shots in game logs, but that means he has to be shooting worse than 30% on 2-pointers in that stretch. He has a little bit of catch and shoot potential for this Pacers team, and when he's got time, he has been making the threes, right? He obviously had that huge 19-point game where he was 5 for 8, but he had he was 2 for 3 against Toronto. He had a couple against Orlando. He shot fine enough in a couple recent games, but his inside the arc stuff when he's got not enough space and tries to make a play kind of stuff has been really off. I think he needs to settle into more of a catch and shoot role, because he's forcing stuff a little bit in recent games, and his stats since kind of returning from injury are not very good. I think he's a little overcast in the starter's role he's in right now. Let's talk about a huge Jalen Smith game. Third thing from the weekend, he was awesome against the Clippers. The best game of his career on offense. 23 points, his first time cracking the 20-point mark in his career. I swear he did last year with the Pacers, but digging through, he didn't. He had a couple 19-point games. He even had a 19-point game with Phoenix last year. Never got to 20 until this game. Brilliant stuff against the Clippers from Jalen Smith. He was literally the only reason it felt like the Pacers were in it at halftime, right? He had 10 points in the first quarter. His first half against the Clippers, he ended up with 19 on 6 for 10 shooting with 6 rebounds, right? Like, he was doing everything for the Pacers in that half. And the starters, Miles Turner was a negative, Buddy Hield was a negative, but in general, he was an even. He kept them in it because he kept that lineup afloat, right? They would have been down much more had Jalen Smith not been on fire, and he really needed a game like that. Finally felt like a coming out party a little for him, where there was some trail threes. The matchups were easier for him. Caitlin Cooper's been pointing out that other teams are putting their big man on Smith now and then their power forward on Turner, so it's harder for Turner to roll or to dive in from the perimeter. So I think that is a good thing that for Smith, but a tougher thing for Turner that the Pacers will have to adjust to. But the Smith really needed a game like that, right? And leading up to that game, Jalen Smith was 2 for his last, I believe, 23. I literally just wrote this, so I should know this. He had made 2 of his last 23 3-point attempts, dating back 6 games, right? So he had been really off from deep. He really needed a game like that. He broke that 2 makes a mark in just the first half of this game. So he's still kind of missing some sort of oomph to me, like, because he can't really score as an interior player. He has to cut or hit a threes to be a really strong offensive threat. And as a big guy, that's kind of tricky, especially on this Pacers team that has a better cutting and perimeter threat at the 5 spot in Turner. So maybe there's some overlap in skill set there that makes it hard for Smith to get in rhythm and get enough touches. But this game, right, he hit some trail threes. He was around the rim when he needed to be. His rebounding he was basically the only good rebounder for the Pacers in this game, finishing with 9 of the team's 39 rebounds. He was really, really good, and they needed it in this game, and they'll need him to be a little better than he has been, right? He's been really struggling for the last 2 or so weeks, and for a guy that has been promised a starting spot this year, he needed to kind of find his role with this new unit. He did a great job in this game, a little bit of ability to mix it up and make it happen all over the floor. Number 4, bad thing again from this weekend. Not going to dive into the stats again. We just did this on Friday, but the slow starts, we're back, and it definitely was a big factor to me against the Clippers, right? I actually thought you could name a lot of stretches, like the Pacers scoring 12 points in the third quarter, as where the Pacers lost this game. But I thought they were about to have their best first quarter of the season. Like, I tentatively typed in the score of a specific moment of this game for a reason. maybe not their number one best first quarter, but one of them. And that score I typed down, I believe I said it in the first segment, was 27-19, right? Miles Turner hit a three-point shot with 3 minutes and 16 seconds to go in the first quarter to put the Pacers up 27-19 over the Clippers. I thought they're about to be off to their best start. And then the quarter ended, and the Pacers were down 35-29, meaning over the final 2 minutes, the Clippers didn't score after that Turner three until the 2:56 mark. So over the final 2 minutes and 56 seconds of that first quarter, the Pacers got outscored 16-2 in a 3-minute stretch, which meant they were down 6. And at the end of the quarter, they were losing at half instead of being ahead because their second quarter was their only good quarter in this whole game, and they could never make up for it, and they lose, right? So had the Pacers actually finished off that quarter, perhaps that game goes differently. Their slow starts continue to plague them. They can't know, even when their starting lineup has a good first quarter, like it did against the Clippers, they still can't get it done because they don't have quite enough coming off the bench, right? So that was concerning, of course, against the Nets. The game they actually won this weekend, they did not win because of their first quarter. They were down 12 at the end of the first quarter. They had a huge second half to get the win there. The slow starts, something has to come to a head eventually. And it's so weird to me that it keeps happening this way because the starting five, the Clippers game, this didn't happen. But what's been happening a lot is that same group comes out in the third quarter and looks fine. They look tremendous, right? So I don't know that it's the lineups. I don't know what it is, but it's hard to overcome those starts. And so you always wonder, what's it going to be? Are the slow starts going to start costing them games, or are they going to figure it out and look like the team they do in the second half? Against the Clippers, it appeared to be the former. At times this season, it's appeared to be the latter. They've got to fix something. Maybe it's Duarte's return. Maybe it's a shakeup, right? Carlisle even alluded to there, analyzing everything, including lineups on Friday. We'll see where that ends up heading, if anywhere. Last thing to shout out from this weekend, very much a more minor thing. James Johnson. The correlation here for Rick Carlisle continues to be obvious. When they play the Nets, James Johnson gets his run, right? James Johnson played for the Nets last year. He knows their tendencies. He knows their sets better than anyone on the Pacers does. His 2 biggest minute games of the season prior to this weekend were against the Nets. This was not a big minute game, but he did play Friday when the Pacers needed some toughness against Brooklyn. He plays 10 minutes. Pacers win those minutes by 12. They won the game by 11, right? It does not take a rocket scientist to know that those minutes were extremely important. He brought toughness, he brought defense, he brought passing, he brought rebounding, and he scored. He was really good in those minutes, guarding whoever he wanted to, handling the ball, making plays. So first of all, impressive on the court performance from James Johnson. Maybe one of his best plus-minus games, impact games of the year. He helps them a ton against that Nets team. And ho-hum, look at this. They play the Nets again on December 12th. He'll be big there. But I wanted to story on him at one point because his type of leadership has been lauded a lot recently. Not so much like McConnell, where every guy has said something to the effect of, yeah, he's been helpful for me because of this, this, and that. James Johnson gets a lot of praise for, just telling dudes like it is, right? What he was talking about in the locker room after the Nets game is like a lot of teams he's been on in the past, like these dudes, a lot of dudes in the league fake like each other. Like they'll be friendly, but they know it's a competition for minutes and spots and all that sort of stuff. He said the Pacers real like each other, right? They're actually close, and he credited Tyrese for a lot of that. But he himself, as a leader who's been on a lot of different teams and in a lot of different experiences, has been a big part of this team in terms of getting guys on the right page, being a tough love kind of leader, and being good for this team. And when you play really well, when you're actually called upon, I think it makes people listen to you more. So really good motivator James Johnson is, and it just so happens against an actual player, right? He was very good in that game in a way that got the Pacers a big win before they went on the road. So that was some stuff that stood out to me this weekend. I don't know if people enjoy these type of just rambling segments for 5 points, but I had a lot of stuff to talk about. None of it merited a full 10 minutes, but it was all stuff that needed to be said. Let's talk Lakers. Lakers in LA tonight. Pacers back-to-back, but no travel. Kind of a weird one, playing in the same arena 2 nights in a row with basketball game in Crypto.com arena at 1 p.m. on Sunday, and a hockey game that night. Then they switch it back over to basketball. So it's crazy how LA sports work. Pacers-Lakers tonight, though. Let's talk about that. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Tonight, you could take Luka to score more or less than his projections, LeBron to have a ton of rebounds, or not so many, Kevin Durant to throw out some dimes, Steph to make threes, whatever you like. PrizePicks has it for you. The format is super simple and convenient, and it's just you versus the projected numbers instead of you versus other people, which I personally love. How does it work? You pick 2 to 6 players. If they'll go more or less in their PrizePicks projection, you can up to 25 times your money on any entry. No competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. PrizePicks offers projections on any sport you watch: NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, PGA, college sports, so much and more. And you can make your entries in a minute or less. It's super easy. They have safe and fast withdrawals, and they're operational in over 30 states plus Canada. Download the PrizePicks app. Go to prizepicks.com. Sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code LOCKEDON. If you do deposit $100, they'll give you 100. 50 equals 50. You get the idea. But you got to enter the promo code LOCKEDON and sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks daily fantasy made easy. Thank you, as always, for making Locked On Pacers your first listen today and every single day. Check out Locked On Lakers for your next listen. There's a lot you could hear about with the Lakers. LeBron just returned from injury, and the Kamenetsky twins do a fantastic job breaking down a team that needs some fun in their life. Pacers, Lakers tonight. Every game against the Lakers is fun and interesting. And finally, the time has come for the confident man, Benedict Mathurin, who's backed up all the talk to play against LeBron James, who, if you'll recall, did an interview, Mathurin did, with Ben Golliver of the Washington Post and said, can't wait to play against LeBron. He thinks he's better than LeBron. Now, let me tell you, as someone who's talked to Benedict Mathurin often, and he did follow up with James Wood, he's just being confident. I don't think he actually thinks he's better than LeBron. He was just being facetious. But, man, he was just projecting that confidence that Benedict Mathurin's had all season. And I can't wait to see how this game goes and how Mathurin looks in that setting, and how LeBron looks, if he even remembers or cares about that comment in the slightest. Now, you might have this perception of the Lakers that they're not very good and they only won 2 games in the first month, and that's all true. But quietly, the Lakers have won 5 of their last 6 games. They figured out with what's coming off the bench. They're getting a little healthier. Thomas Bryant's back. Dennis Schroeder's back. Here come the Lakers. Here come the Lakers. They're still 7-11, but they're a much better 7-11 than the 7-11 they were. So that matters as the Pacers play them tonight. Don't look now, though. A surging Lakers team that's found some stuff. And here's the biggest reason for that. Anthony Davis is the biggest reason for that. He's back. He is healthy, and he is on our rampage. Last 5 games for Anthony Davis. Last 5 games he's played. 33.4 points per game. This is not a misspeak for me. 17.6 rebounds. 33.5 points, 17.6 rebounds, 2 steals, 2.5 blocks, 2.4 assists per game. Holy crap. Shooting 64.4% in that game. He missed all of his threes in the stretch, and he's still putting up insane numbers. His worst scoring game of that stretch was 25 and 15 he had against the Spurs over the weekend. Holy moly. Anthony Davis is on fire, and the Pacers have no good answers for him, and that's why this game will be tough no matter how well the Pacers play, because Anthony Davis is going to do well. Miles can't really contain that kind of player. Jalen Smith certainly can't contain that kind of player. The Pacers have nothing for that. Nothing. They're going to have to figure something out, and maybe Davis is hurt. He did not play in the Lakers' last game against the Spurs on the 26th on Saturday, but he did play on the 25th. We'll see what his health status is for the game, but he's been on a tear. A big reason the Lakers have recovered a little bit has been that they also, have LeBron, who is also now back from injury. He returned against the Spurs over the weekend. He's only played in 12 games this year. LeBron, a little bit of coming up, a little bit of injury coming up for him as he gets a little older, but they still have him on the team. And as long as he's playing, things will be going well-ish for the Lakers. He played both games over the weekend. He scored 9 points and had 11 rebounds on Saturday, right? He's LeBron James. So I don't have to tell you the highlight reasons why the Lakers will be a tough matchup, but I think, zoomed out, take away the names of LeBron and AD, the way the Lakers roster is constructed is a tough matchup for the Pacers in that, their 2 best players are these bulky forwards, and even their guards that are good, like Westbrook is strong. Patrick Beverley won't play because of a suspension, but, Austin Reeves is a little stronger. Lonnie Walker's having a kind of resurgent year shooting the ball, right? They've got these kind of guys that fit the style of players that have done well against the Pacers in past years. So it could be a tough game for the Pacers just in terms of head-to-head matchups and the things that have been good against the Pacers from a player perspective in the past. That said, stylistically, that's why I called out what the Nets and Clippers are and why they're different, because the stuff that makes the Nets bad is similar to the stuff that makes the Lakers bad in terms of connectivity and things like that. The specifics of, defense, rebounding, whatever, the Lakers and Nets are total opposites, but I think there's enough similarities that this game will be closer than the Clippers game to me. The Lakers aren't efficient, right? I think that's a big problem for them in the way they try to play. They are 28th in three-point percentage and 11th in two-point percentage. Their effective field goal percentage this season, 23rd, right? Their offense is not particularly good. Their defense is pretty good, 10th in defense right now, but not good enough on offense to kind of sustain it. And so when you don't play well enough with the efficiency game, you've got to be really good in the possession game. And the Lakers are 7th in rebounding. They're kind of good at that. They're 18th in steals. So they just don't have the right balance of the possession game versus the efficiency game. And with the lack of shooting that they have, they're kind of reliant on some streaky nights when Anthony Davis or LeBron doesn't have it, and they're not good enough on the glass to make up for it if they can't shoot. So the Pacers, if they do the normal stuff on offense, they should be the better team. But doing stuff on offense against the 10th ranked defense in the league is pretty hard, and that's what makes the Lakers a tough matchup. Is they're kind of reliant on hoping that some of the Lakers miss some threes, because you got to try to stop around an 80. It's hard not to. The other thing is the Lakers never force turnovers, right? They kind of hope to out-efficient teams because they have the stars, and the Pacers just played the Nets, who similarly do that, and it worked out well for the Pacers. But if the Pacers cough up some unnecessary turnovers, that could really kill them. So to me, look, low level, this is a dumb thing to say, but if the Pacers shoot well from deep, they'll have a huge efficiency advantage, more so than they would against other teams. So yes, here comes Captain Obvious. If the Pacers shoot well, they have a better chance of winning. Duh. If team scores points, they win game. But especially against the Lakers, who their shtick in terms of the math is they want to out-efficiency you because they have these stars that generate easy shots. If the Pacers can match their shooting, the general styles of the game suggest that they'll have their advantage. I think drives are going to be key for the Pacers. The Lakers do give up a lot of two-point looks themselves. 29th. They give up almost 62-point shots per game. They do a decent job defending them, but they give up a lot of them. So drives will be key. Getting high-quality looks around the rim will be key. So if you want to dump game down specific guys, I think guys like Buddy Hield and Ben Mathurin, the good shooters and the good drivers, will be very important for the Pacers to get their offense up and flowing. Obviously, Halliburton is a given in the same realm. And on defense, anyone who is trying to prevent the Lakers from getting their favorite shots, like Jalen Smith defending Davis or Bron, and Isaiah Jackson kind of playing that same kind of role, playing around the rim, making their life hard in the paint. Miles Turner as well, obviously, will be extremely important. Those are the guys for me in this game who will be the most important. I think this one's going to be close, right? Teams play hard and do their thing against the Lakers. Pacers won in LA last year and almost beat the Lakers at home. Duarte had that foul at the buzzer not called 3 and lost in overtime to the Lakers last year. I think they'll want to bounce back after that dud against the Clippers, and they match up pretty well with the Lakers. They played them hard last year. Should be fun. I think the Pacers have a good shot, but the Lakers are definitely on paper more talented and playing much better. So we'll see where this game goes. Looking forward to it tomorrow. Of course, we'll be recapping it all right here on Locked On Pacers, the big things that happened, the sidebars of the game. And I might, if he doesn't play, talk a little bit about Andrew Nembhard's absence and how the Pacers have missed him since he's been out for about a week now with his bruised knee, and his chameleon skills were really helping the Pacers as he was playing. So stay tuned for that. We are back tomorrow. Then Wednesday, oh yeah, it's time. Halliburton Hield back in Sacramento. We'll talk all that here on Locked On Pacers as well. You won't want to miss it. So thank you guys a ton for listening. Tons of fun coming this week on Locked On Pacers. Hope to see you soon.